In the small town of Belladonna, autumn brought with it a thick fog that covered the streets like a heavy shroud. The trees, stripped of their leaves, seemed to twist in agony, and no one in the town could pinpoint when the mist first began to appear. However, everyone agreed that there was something sinister about it. The townsfolk whispered about inexplicable disappearances and wails echoing in the shadows. In an antique shop located in the heart of the town, a new item had arrived, a ventriloquist dummy, the doll, with its sinister grin and eyes that seemed to follow you, held an unsettling aura. The shopkeeper, Mr. Bianchi, an elderly man with a weary gaze, shared that the dummy had belonged to a famous ventriloquist who had mysteriously vanished decades ago. The story behind the doll was as intriguing as it was disturbing, and soon the shop became the center of attention in Belladonna. A group of teenagers, Sophia, Luca, Emilia, and Marco, decided it was time to explore the mystery of the dummy. Sophia, the bravest of the bunch, was determined to uncover the truth. "Let's head to the shop and check out this dummy," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It could make for a great story." "You're not scared, are you?" Luca teased, challenging her. "You always say you don't believe in ghosts." "I don't," Sophia replied, a bit defensive. "But that doesn't mean I don't want to see the dummy." When they arrived at the antique store, the bell above the door chimed, echoing in the dim, dusty interior. The scent of old wood and dampness filled the air. Mr. Bianchi greeted them with a skeptical look, but his expression softened when he saw they were just curious teenagers. "Are you here to see the dummy?" he asked, gesturing toward a dusty shelf at the back of the shop. "It's quite an unusual piece." The dummy sat there, perched in a wooden chair, dressed in tattered clothes. Its smile more of a grimace than a friendly expression. The glassy eyes seemed to glint in the dim light, and as they approached, a chilling sensation washed over them, as if the dummy were alive. "It's creepy," Emilia murmured, her hands trembling slightly. "Do you really believe it's cursed?" "I don't believe in curses," Luca replied defiantly, "but something definitely feels off about it." Mr. Bianchi began to share the story of the dummy. It belonged to a ventriloquist named Carlo Gallo, a renowned performer in his time. He disappeared during a performance one night, and the dummy was found in his dressing room, completely intact. Ever since, those who have owned the dummy report strange experiences. Sophia was captivated. "What kind of experiences?" "Whispers, inexplicable movements. Some even claim the dummy talks," Mr. Bianchi answered, his eyes glinting with a mix of fear and curiosity. "But I advise you not to touch it." "We'll take it," Sophia declared without hesitation. "We need to see if these stories are true." That night, the teenagers gathered at Sophia's house to test the dummy. The room was dimly lit, the atmosphere thick with excitement and a hint of fear. Sophia placed the dummy in the center of the room, its eyes still glinting ominously. "So how does this work?" Marco asked, eyeing the dummy. "Do you need a ventriloquist?" "I can do it," Sophia replied, resolute. "Just follow my lead." With a shaky voice, Sophia began to speak to the dummy. "Hello, my name is Sophia. How are you?" To their astonishment, a response came, not from the dummy's mouth, but from a soft, whispering voice that seemed to echo through the room. "I'm waiting." The room fell silent. The teenagers exchanged uncertain glances, unsure of how to react. "That was you, right?" Luca asked, looking at Sophia. "No, I didn't do anything," Sophia replied, her heart racing. "Let's try again," Emilia suggested, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. "Maybe it just reacts." This time, Sophia tried again. "Dummy, can you tell us your story?" The answer came again, clearer this time, as if something were taking shape. Carlo needs help. The room began to chill, a cold breeze sweeping through the space. The teenagers felt a shiver run down their spines, and the lights started to flicker. "This isn't normal," Marco said, his voice quaking. "We should stop this now." But Sophia was intrigued. "No, we need to find out more. What happened to Carlo?" The voice returned, stronger than before. "The curse cannot be broken." Determined to learn more about Carlo Gallo and the dummy, the teenagers split up into pairs to research at the local library, looking for records of disappearances and stories about the ventriloquist. After hours of digging, they stumbled upon an old article detailing Carlo's life and career. He was famous for his performances. Yet there were whispers of a darker side. Many of his colleagues claimed Carlo was obsessed with the dummy, spending hours conversing with it in private. "This is getting weirder," Amelia remarked, flipping through the yellowed newspaper pages. He was really fixated on that doll. "Check this out," Luca said, pointing to a section of the article. It says that after his last show, he vanished without a trace. The dummy was found in his dressing room, but Carlo was never seen again. "Maybe he was possessed," Sophia speculated, her mind racing. "Or maybe the dummy had something to do with his disappearance." "That's just a legend," Marco replied, but his voice trembled with uncertainty. "We can't let ourselves be drawn into this." Later that night, the teenagers decided to hold another session with the dummy. The atmosphere was tense, and the fog outside seemed denser than ever. Sophia, determined to press on, placed the dummy back in the center of the room and began to communicate. "Dummy, can you tell us where Carlo is?" she asked, her voice steady. The response came as a whisper. "He is trapped in darkness. How can we free him?" Sophia pressed. "An offering must be made," the voice replied, softer now, like a breeze passing through the room. The teenagers exchanged puzzled looks. "What kind of offering?" Luca asked, his tone anxious. "Lost souls must be called." "This is ridiculous," Marco said, starting to rise. "We're getting into something we don't understand." "Just one more time," Sophia pleaded. "We need to understand." The next morning, the town was abuzz with chaos. A local resident had vanished during the night, and rumors began to spread. The fog that shrouded the town appeared darker, as if it were alive, swallowing those who dared to enter its domain. The teenagers were frightened, but Sophia was more determined than ever. "We need to make the offering," she insisted. "If we don't, more people will disappear." "Do you really think this will work?" Marco asked, concerned. "We have no choice," Sophia replied, resolute. "We need to do what the dummy says." As night approached, the teens prepared themselves. They gathered photographs of friends and family who had gone missing, a way to call forth the lost souls. The atmosphere was heavy, and a palpable tension filled the air. In the center of the room, the dummy waited. "The offering has been made," Sophia stated, placing the photographs around the dummy. "Now, dummy, help us." The atmosphere began to shift. The air turned frigid, and a presence began to manifest. The lights flickered once again, and whispers echoed through the room. "Lost souls, come to us," the voice murmured, louder now. The teenagers were frozen in place, watching as shadows began to form around the dummy. Indistinct figures emerged, and the whispers escalated into cries. "Help us," one voice pleaded, while another chimed in, "We are here." "Carlo," Sophia called. "Are you here?" The figure began to materialize, and the shadow transformed into a man, his expression a mix of sorrow and desperation. "Help me," he whispered, and the teenagers could see his vacant eyes filled with profound sadness. "How can we help you?" Amelia asked, her voice quaking. "The curse, the dummy, must be destroyed," Carlo replied, his voice echoing with pain. "I was trapped by it, and now it seeks more souls." "But how?" Sophia pressed. "What must we do?" "Burn the dummy," Carlo said, his presence beginning to fade. "The only way to break the curse is to eliminate what created it." The teens exchanged nervous glances. The thought of burning the dummy terrified them, but they knew they couldn't ignore the warning. "We have to do this," Sophia said, her heart racing. "Let's burn the dummy." That night, the teenagers gathered once more, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They placed the dummy in a container in Sophia's backyard, surrounding it with flammable materials. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the wind howled, as if nature itself were trying to prevent what they were about to do. "Are you ready?" Luca asked, glancing at Sophia. "I am," she replied, her determination unwavering. "Let's end this." With a match in hand, Sophia lit the fire, and as the flames began to dance, a chilling laughter echoed through the night. The dummy appeared to come to life, its eyes glowing with supernatural light. "You cannot destroy me," the voice thundered, filled with rage. The flames grew, and the dummy began to writhe, screaming in agony. "I am eternal. No one can stop me." But Sophia didn't waver. "You are not eternal," she shouted, fire engulfing the dummy. "You are merely a curse." The flames consumed the dummy, and the malevolent presence surrounding it began to dissipate. The whispers transformed into cries of torment, and the shadows that had once surrounded the teenagers began to fade away. As the dummy burned, a wave of energy surged through the air. The teens fell to their knees, feeling the curse's grip loosening. Carlo reappeared one last time, his form now clearer and more serene. "Thank you," he whispered before vanishing into the flames. Exhausted but relieved, the teenagers stood up. The atmosphere felt lighter, and the fog that once cloaked the town began to lift. They knew they had broken the curse, but the price they paid weighed heavily on them. "That's it," Marco said, breathing deeply. "I never want to hear about that dummy again." "Me neither," Amelia agreed, her eyes still wide with fear. "That was all too real." "But we did it," Sophia said, a smile breaking through. "We broke the curse." As the days passed, the town of Belladonna began to heal. The fog cleared, and the residents started sharing tales of the disappearances and the whispers that had once filled the air. The ventriloquist dummy was never mentioned again, and the teenagers became local heroes. Yet, something felt off. At night, when the town was cloaked in silence, Sophia began to hear whispers in her house. Sometimes, it felt like someone was calling her name. Other times, the whispers seemed to come from distant places, as if something were trying to communicate. One night, as she prepared for bed, Sophia heard a noise coming from the basement. Her heart raced, and she hesitated for a moment. "It's just the wind," she murmured to herself. But curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to investigate. As she descended the stairs, the lights began to flicker, and the atmosphere grew heavy. The whispers intensified, and a sense of dread enveloped her. "Sophia," a voice whispered, and she felt a chill run down her spine. "Who's there?" she shouted, her voice echoing in the basement silence. And then she saw it. In the dark corner of the basement, a shadow moved, and she recognized a figure. It was the ventriloquist dummy. But something was wrong. Its eyes were wide open, and its smile was broader, more sinister. "You thought you could destroy me?" the voice hissed, echoing in the darkness. "I am eternal." Sophia froze, her heart pounding. No, this can't be real, she screamed, backing away toward the stairs. You freed me, but did not destroy me, the voice echoed. The curse now belongs to you. Desperate, Sophia turned and sprinted for the stairs, but the shadow pursued her, its presence closing rapidly. You cannot escape what you have created, the voice whispered, and the darkness began to engulf her. Help! Sophia screamed, but no one was there to hear her. She was alone, facing the curse she thought she had broken. The next day, her friend sensed something was amiss when Sophia didn't show up. Worried, Luca, Emilia, and Marco decided to check on her. As they approached her house, they felt the heavy atmosphere, and the whispers began to grow louder. Sophia, Marco called out, but there was no response. They ventured inside, and when they reached the basement, they found the dummy waiting. She must be somewhere, Emilia said, looking around frantically. We have to find her, Luca replied, determination in his voice. Let's split up and search. As they scoured the house, the whispers grew louder, and shadows began to form around them. You cannot save her, the dummy's voice echoed. She belongs to me now. We won't let you take her. Marco shouted, rushing toward the dummy. You're nothing without her. But the shadows closed in, and the malevolent presence grew stronger. You do not understand, the voice whispered. The curse is now part of you. The teens banded together, resolved to confront the curse once and for all. We need to burn the dummy again, Emilia said, her mind racing. It's the only way to free Sophia. With renewed courage, they placed the dummy in a container and ignited the fire. As the flames began to flicker, the whispers transformed into screams of anguish. You cannot destroy me again, the voice bellowed, filled with fury. The malevolent presence writhed, and the teens felt the curse beginning to shatter. We are stronger together, Marco yelled, his voice filled with determination. The flames blazed brighter, and Carlo's figure appeared once more, his expression now one of hope. Burn the dummy, free the souls. With one last united effort, the teenagers recited the final words of the ritual. The dummy began to disintegrate, and lost souls were released, floating away on the gentle night breeze. As the curse was finally broken, the teens embraced, exhausted but relieved. The fog that once enveloped the town began to lift, and a sense of peace washed over the air. They had confronted the darkness and emerged victorious. We did it, Sophia said, tears in her eyes. We're free. But even as they looked to the sky, an unsettling feeling lingered. Is this really it? Marco asked warily. Are we truly free? Yes, Emilia affirmed, her voice steady. We broke the curse. Yet, as they turned to leave, a shadow danced at the edge of their vision. The dummy may have been destroyed, but the darkness would never completely fade. Whispers continued to echo in the shadows, a warning that the battle against evil would never truly end. And so, the story of Belladonna continued, an endless cycle of light and darkness, courage and fear. The teenagers had learned that the true fight against the curse of the ventriloquist dummy was not merely about facing the darkness, but also about remembering that light will always find a way, even in the darkest nights. Months passed, and the town of Belladonna began to heal. The disappearances became mere cautionary tales, and the ventriloquist dummy faded into legend. But one fateful night, while the full moon illuminated the sky, a new resident of the town stumbled upon an old chest hidden away in his attic. Inside, he found a ventriloquist dummy, untouched and grinning, as if it had been waiting for someone. How strange, the new resident murmured, lifting the dummy into his hands. What do you have to say? And as he gazed into its glassy eyes, a soft, whispering voice began to echo in the darkness, promising a new tale about to unfold.